I've been. All in my phone, I got options. And I don't.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Horchatamamita back with another video. Today, we're not doing a chit chat get ready with me, unfortunately. Again, I know y'all, don't beat me up. The planning just hasn't been planning. But to, I guess, excuse myself, I have been traveling for the past 2 weeks. So it's been a bit hectic, to say the least. As you guys may or may not notice, I am in Cali right now. Also, if I jump up and scream, it's probably because there's a bug on me, because there's a bunch of webs on this seat, but this is the best thing I could find. But yeah, y'all, if you're new here, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. With that being said, today's video is about reinventing yourself. And as with many other videos, I am talking about this because I feel like it's very relevant to me in my life right now. As I mentioned before, it's my birthday season. I'm not even gonna say it's my birthday because it's not, but I've been celebrating it and will be celebrating it for a month, it seems like. Regardless, let's just say I'm the birthday. It's my birthday. And I think, as I mentioned before, I'm very reflective right now on just like where I'm at in my life, like what has happened in my life up until now and what I want, you know, these next few years to look like. And I think a big part of turning a year older and getting older is reflecting on who you've been up to this point, but also like who you want to be and finding yourself again in that way. And also just giving yourself the freedom to kind of like, as I mentioned, to reinvent yourself in the process. As humans, we are meant to evolve, like, and I think especially depending on the type of person you are, like, I don't like being confined. I don't like being put in a box. And you guys are probably gonna get sick of me saying that. But right now I'm really asking myself, like, okay, who is Estella at this point in life, you know? And am I on track in terms of the type of person that I want to be and the direction I want to go in my life? Or am I missing the mark, essentially? I'm gonna break it down for you guys in the simplest way that I can, because obviously these topics can become more and more complicated as we think about them and talk about them. But initially, and first step in reinventing yourself is acknowledging that there's a need for reinvention. And what I mean by that is there's usually certain triggers, like there's certain signs and signals that the identity that you have chosen for yourself, essentially, and that's guiding you in life, that's pushing you and motivating you in your life, it's not working for you anymore. I think some of these signs could mean like feeling stuck or like feeling unlike yourself or kind of like lost. I think that's usually a sign that there's an issue with identity, whether it mean that you no longer resonate with the identity that you've chosen for yourself at this point, or you just need to pivot, because there are aspects in life that you do feel like resonate with you and what matters to you, but you're not necessarily actually centering your life around those things, if that makes sense. So another thing I think that could signal that is just like feeling like everything's hard, like feeling things are hard. Obviously mental health is a big proponent here, but I think usually when things feel tough, it is because you don't feel like you're aligned. And I think that's one of the main issues here. If I could choose one word that kind of embodies, you know, what that trigger is of like this new identity shift, it's misalignment. And so when you feel like, you know, something is off, like energetically, that is the indication that you need to pivot. And so you either need to recenter yourself because, again, you're off track, or you need to really think about whether or not the identity that you've chosen for yourself at this point in life, or that you built your life around at this point, resonates with you still, or if it needs to be refined. If your identity needs to be refined, you need to first think about what is that old identity, like define it very, very clearly, like who was I before and how does that not resonate with me anymore. And you have to be very specific on that, like who was that person and what did she focus on, what did her time and energy go into, whether that be people or opportunities or things. Asking yourself that is really important to really understand what you want to shift your energy and, again, your time and your resources away from. It's good to know where you're going, but if you don't know where you're coming from, it's kind of hard to navigate. Sounds very general, but when it comes to identity, specifically as it pertains to identity, right? Like, I can know the type of person I want to be, but if I don't know the person that I've been up until this point, like, how will I know the trajectory, you know? How do I know what to stay away from, what my habits have been, and which ones need to be refined in order to move in the direction that, once again, is more aligned with me and what I care about at this point in my life. I think it's also important to think about not only, you know, who was that old identity, where did her or his time and energy go to, but also at its core, what need was it fulfilling to focus on those things? Like, how did that old identity, how did those values, those things that I devoted myself to, or those people that I devoted myself to, how did they contribute to my happiness and my fulfillment? Because essentially, that's why we value things, right? It's because they do bring something to us. And unless we can identify what it is that they actually did for our lives, it's hard to change. It's hard to pivot away from those things, you know, because it might feel like, okay, even though we want to change our habits, we want to change our action, there is a need that is now unmet. And so it's like, there's a question of, okay, how can I now meet this need without doing this one thing, if that makes sense, and finding a different source for that need. So a big part of this is really just like releasing, like being able to let go of old patterns, old habits, old people, old environments that resonate with the old identity and therefore do not resonate with the new identity, because we need to make space for the things that we actually do care about instead of wasting it on things that, once again, are no longer in alignment with who we are at this point. I'll give you guys some examples of things that like we need to let go of that are, you know, relevant to our old identity and the needs that they fulfill. Let's say one negative habit, you know, that's associated with our old identity is an old identity of being an unhealthy person, right? Is eating out a lot, is not prioritizing sleep, because that can affect health a lot, of not working out, asking yourself, why are these things habits to begin with, right? Like, not eating the best, is it because you're lazy? Is it because you're lacking discipline? A lot of times that is what the root of the problem is all around. But is it because I'm trying to save money and I feel like the most cost efficient way to do that is to spend on things that are not healthy? Am I sleeping late because, again, I'm undisciplined? Or is it because I have FOMO? Everything's at the expense of something. And so it's like kind of shifting things around and asking, why is it that this is a habit? And how can I replace it with a healthier habit? Your need, for example, is to socialize, right? You feel like you have FOMO and that's why you need to stay up later because you need to go out with your friends or whatever it may be. Maybe you can find a replacement for that. Like, I don't need to stay out really late. I don't need to go out with my friends in order to have a good time. Maybe I can go to brunch. Like, that way, that fits into the lifestyle that I want for myself. And it aligns with the identity that, again, more closely resonates with you at this point in your life. So once you understand like your old identity, the habits that essentially accompany that old identity and their origins, you can then shift to asking yourself, what identity do I want to move in the direction of? Once again, I cannot stress enough how important it is to be specific about this. Like, you need to have a clear picture of what that looks like. My new identity is healthy. She's someone who takes care of herself, who prioritizes sleep, who, you know, has a strict workout regimen, who eats clean, you know? Like, the more specific I can be about that, like, the most resonant identity right now is someone who works out 5 times a week and who only eats out twice a week. Like, painting that picture for yourself, I think, is really important in really shaping the direction that you're going in. And again, those habits that you're going to form in order to get there. Once you understand like that new identity, then you can think about, okay, how can I replace those old habits with healthier habits that align with that identity? And how can I surround myself with people who also support that vision, who support that identity? Because you can do whatever you want, you know, to improve yourself. But if you're surrounded by the same circle that is misaligned with that new identity, you can only go so far, you know? And I think that's why people really say, like, be careful with the company that you keep, because in one way or another, you take different pieces from them, different parts of them, and you become more like them. So yeah, focus on your habits, hone in on them, but also really be intentional about the community that you keep around you as you are working towards this new identity and forming these new habits. Maybe that means, you know, changing your circle completely, or maybe that means hanging out with people a little bit less because there are some parts of them that you do value, but overall it's a matter of discernment and realizing like who needs to stay in my life, who do I want to stay in my life, and like in what way are they staying in my life, how are they going to help me become the person I want to be, and space for them in accordance to that. And one other important thing that I want to point out is once you understand where unaligned habits are coming from, you can then assess whether their purpose aligns with your values and with your new identity. Some things are just negative priorities, right? And some things are, you know, maybe natural or they're inherently not negative. And a lot of things are, actually. I would say a lot of these things count as that. But when they are not used in moderation, they're not used responsibly, like the way that you manage them, I think really determines how healthy or unhealthy they are for you. And so again, discernment is a big factor here. Like, is it something that I completely need to scrap out because it's just bad for me, period? It doesn't do anything good for me. It does not serve me at all. Or is it something that maybe I can, you know, readjust in my life? And that's needless to say, but if it's inherently negative, if it doesn't serve you and that new identity that you're creating for yourself and the things that you value, you should leave it behind completely. But if it's something that you can, you know, manage a bit better, that you can limit the use of, or, you know, your time around, that's something that you can also do. It doesn't have to be black or white, essentially is what I'm saying. With that being said, I think I just want to like reinforce the fact that like it's not a matter of if you can do something or not. I think sometimes, or if you can be around someone or not, I think you have to be real with yourself about how these people and these things relate to, again, the identity that you resonate with or that you envision for yourself at this point in your life. And it's important to make your decision in terms of how much time, again, and energy and resources and all that you want to put towards that thing. Because if it's not serving you, then what is it doing? You know, like, and we only have so much energy, we only have so much time, like we only have so many resources. So I think it's important to, you know, make the most of them. We only have one life to live, so it's important to make the most of that. Life is crazy and there's ups and downs. It's literally a roller coaster and it'll take you in so many different directions. But at the end of the day, like, I want to remind you guys that you have control over like who you become, you know? Like sometimes we get off track and that's fine, but it's really a matter of what you do when you catch yourself. Like, do you catch yourself? One, are you reflective? Are you introspective and ask yourself, you know, again, a lot of these like existential questions. And are you holding yourself accountable in terms of living the life that you want and moving in the direction that you want? It's never too late to pivot. It's never too late to start something new. I think what's most important, again, considering how short life is living a life that you're happy about and being somebody that you are content with. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it really useful, and I promise I got you with a chit chat. Get ready with me next time. But I hope this was short and sweet, and again, maybe what you needed to hear at this point in your life. But yeah, guys, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys stay tuned for the next post. Bye.
Something that makes me look at you too often. Oh, baby, you can give it something.